This episode of Getting Tabled is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. Use code TABLE to get 5% off any order over $100, one use only. Thanks to our Patreons. Please consider supporting us.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yank,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 137 Getting Tabled with your host. He tried to make some LARPing rules for Entropy City, the Bruce.
Hi, folks. Yeah, more on that later, unfortunately. I am lucky to be here, but we also have the main man. He's always lucky to be anywhere outside of his desk. It's Major Socks.
Yep, it's back. And look, guys, I've got stuff in my room. I'm not in an empty room anymore. Yeah, it's still a little echoey because I don't have a rug, but I have my stuff.
Better than it was.
Yes.
Ooh! I have to send you a link for a rug, Socks. I found a site that has Star Wars rugs.
Ooh, that might come in handy.
Yeah, and they're like they have the mat that attaches underneath, so you can like take them off and like throw them in the actual wash.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'll have to send you that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we got Bruce or George. We already introduced Bruce. We got George. We don't care about George because he's up in nowhere, Wyoming. So
It's not that we don't care about him. It's wait, who?
Yeah.
Who? Oh no, yeah, we don't care.
Hi.
I mean, we spent all of last episode picking on Socks. It's only fair that me and
George-
George get a
George
little
time.
bit of it.
yeah, I agree. So, but
Did you like the name that the label that I put on that? The accidental roasting of Major Socks.
yes,
I
I was
appreciated
quite
that.
proud of that.
I thought that was fitting and appropriate both.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about. With some
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
Socks.
All right, folks.
It's about a game that you used to play that you sold all your stuff because it made you mad.
Yeah, Star Wars Legion 2 is coming out. Version 2.
Finally, which is
After-
ironic because they announced the new logo before the rules, which is very weird.
Yeah.
It is good that we're finally seeing some new rules. It is a game that needed it much
Needed
more
it.
than they were probably saying.
Especially
I've got
after
to say,
Asmodee turned it over to AMG. And they messed things up.
well, I think
That's
the
putting
game
it mildly.
become-
I would say borked it to no end.
From what Socks was saying, that the rules were. I mean, I have heard other people argue against your point. I'm not saying that they're right, but the game at least had become very stagnant anyway. And it was already kind of struggling with like every time something new comes out. It's just one of those things. It sounds like they're trying to balance it so that everything finally has a place on the table, which is the way that the game should have been to begin with, which is good. I've got to say, the new logo looks like somebody fell asleep while they were designing it. It's not that I don't like the new logo. I just feel like it's empty AI graphic design. I mean, it's not AI, but the new Star Wars Legion one.
Yeah, up in the top left of the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does look, especially with the alien text.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it totally screams like, oh yeah, we just typed up some cues in AI with that text in it. It just
There's something in the business world that tends to happen when a new CEO takes over a company. And a new CEO will come over and they'll do a complete brand refresh, and then they'll leave the company and use that brand refresh as evidence of how much change they made. And it's something that's like notoriously lazy CEO work. where the only thing they do is change the logo and the brand, and then they move on and expect
And they-
it to be seen.
And they
as
call
this
it
great
good,
change.
and they think they did a good thing.
That's how this feels to me. Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Again, I'm not actually saying this is bad, but it just feels like this is missing several things. And
Yeah,
I
for
can't,
sure.
I can't even really put. It just feels so bland, which is ironic because the previous logo was black and white. Like the previous logo, I'm not saying it was better. It felt more Star Wars than this does, though.
Yes.
Like we will be talking shortly about another brand refresh that has kind of done the same thing, but I feel like they've done it better. And it's a brand that I don't play it. I'm not interested in it. Hey, teasers for later. Anyway, this is good news for people that's into the game. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's kind of all there is for Star Wars Legion at this stage, or at least what we're talking about it. Let's talk about some Marvel stuff. And we're going to
Marvel
start.
Crisis Protocol. We have Black Panther and Namor.
Yep. So, Asmodee are kind of in a stage of releasing new versions of every miniature that they've done at the moment. Although I don't remember if we had a Namor. I don't think we had.
I don't think so. I think there was a Black Panther, though, for sure.
Oh, no, there's definitely a Black Panther. I really like both of these, honestly. They still have... There is a big problem that's hanging over the sculpting in MCP, which I'm going to talk about after the next MCP discussion. But I think both of these are massive improvements on the old ones.
So, I will say this. I know this is the classic Namor, and I know MCP has done both, like, the best of both universes when it comes to comics and the movies. They should have gone with the movie Namor. I think that's a much better looking Namor than this Namor.
Yep.
Yeah.
I liked because the previous Black Panther was very movie inspired, whether deliberate or otherwise. This one is very much comics.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he's actually got the Black Panther with him. The vines are a nice touch. I like the body, but I really hate that face.
Yeah, there's no need to have a mouth when you have a full mask. Like,
well, no, I'm talking about Namor. Sorry. I just remembered that I'm not the one that's doing the pictures on screen. Like, Namor, like the body, and this is actually probably one of the better poses that they've done. Spoiler for what my argument's going to be later. But that face, I just don't. The face feels like, I don't know. It feels like a drawing in a like.
Yeah, a little disfigured.
Yeah. It's not the painting, because we know that the painting that studio does is good. Photographing miniatures is not easy, though. Maybe it's just the angle that it's on. I don't know. And props to them for not having wings on the ankles that looks like they're going to snap off. They actually look like they're on there pretty solidly.
They look fairly robust, yeah.
The next one we have is probably... Like, there are a lot more releases that was announced, but we're just covering these two. This is probably my favourite, which is Weapon X and Maverick. I just think this is a release that makes a lot of sense. And it is the Weapon X pose.
Yeah. I will say, oops, that is not. That went to Bane and or not Bane, Ultron and whoever's got the skull face, whatever. That's weird.
I think there's an issue with your computer, because the link is fine.
No, I can see it too. I can see those pictures.
If you look at the original page, they've got Ultron and like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyways, so I'm back on the Maverick and the Weapon X. I think Maverick always had a great look for a character in the comic book. Like just the armor, the way the armor looks, like just look good. I was never a fan of the whole like Weapon X look. Like, I'm sorry, like he would have gotten rid of that helmet. He would have gotten rid of the stuff hanging off of it. Like,
Yeah, I've always been under the impression that the reason that he's still got half of it on is because he hasn't had the chance to act. Like he's in a matter of, I just need to get out of here, and that's as far as his mind has gone. Like he isn't
Sure.
really fully awake yet. Because like then after he's out of the facility, the next thing we see is that like he's got it off and he's then in the mission of trying to figure out who he is and stuff. So I was kind of teasing that there's something that seems to be hanging over this line at the moment. And it's the biggest criticism that people have for Atomic Mass games, which is that all of their miniatures are posed the same. There's like 3 or 4 different poses, and that's all they use. There's only 2 poses that every female sculpt has. Now, granted, Wolverine, this is just the Wolverine pose. Like if you pose it any other way, then it's wrong. So I don't have a problem with the poses per se, but they are all the same.
You have a problem with the creativity of the poses.
I think everybody's blaming. I say everybody. People have issues with Atomic Mass games not trying to do more because there's people out there doing better miniatures out there illegally. And I'm sorry, it's illegally.
Yeah.
I'm going to get hate for that. But I think part of the issue that nobody's talking about here is the fact that this is a licensed product. Part of this is going to be that this is what Disney is allowing them to do.
Allowing them, yep.
Whereas your favorite 3D creators are doing it illegally and shouldn't be doing it at all. I have no problems with Disney not getting money, but they are doing it illegally, and they can therefore do whatever they want without it being approved. They can take risks because, worst case scenario, they get told to stop doing it. These guys are actually being paid to do it. That's the difference. Anyway, there's another brand refresh that happened.
Actually, I'm going to throw this out real quick too. In Wyoming, that does exist at the American Heritage Center. The Stan Lee exhibit is out, so I got a chance to go look at that too.
Ooh, nice.
Any good?
Yeah, for sure. It's got the
Why
whole
is it
background.
in Wyoming?
Because that's where he left his stuff for posterity's sake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he picked University of Wyoming of all places. This man, of where he's been, what he's done, and all the places he spoke at, he left it in Little Laramie, Wyoming, versus anywhere else he could have left it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because he's a New Yorker originally.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah. Maybe he lived there later in life.
No.
He did, though. I don't know. Going back to Star Wars, going back to Star Wars Legion, just for context on this, I think part of the problem with Legion is that the brand refresh was something it didn't need, and I think that's part of why it's not quite hitting. I think part of the reason why the new look of Warmachine is hitting is because this brand desperately needed it, and I mean desperately. So we got a new look for the logo. It kind of feels like it's just a refresh. It has the same vibes of a new edition of Warhammer, where they just kind of tweak it just a little bit. It looks cleaner. It still has the same vibes. It kind of reminisces back to the original logo, but it's just a little fresher. And I really like this one. I don't have a problem with brand refreshes. They've also redone the packaging, which is nice.
That looks good.
Really like that.
It really does look nice. That little cutout.
Yeah. I mean, if you're buying a line and you're making it your own, this is kind of something you have to do, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to get the old logo off the packaging anyway.
Well, so I just looked at this, right? So I've got the box up, right? And there's a cutout, and it looks like an insert. And then if you scroll down, it's the little hanger, and it's the same kind of thing. Steamforged Games has done a brilliant thing here because they can get all of those boxes just mass printed and just print cards for what's in the box and slide the card in. Boom, it's done.
Yep. I suspect that this is a sleeve that goes over the top, but I could be wrong.
No, it's 100% a sleeve.
Yeah. I really like what they've done here, honestly. I think it looks really, really good. This was a brand it's a brand that had been struggling to get noticed a little bit, and that's not necessarily the game's fault. It's a fault of, like, they used to be a huge number 2, and they've just never been that ever again. I think this is a sign that Steamforged are going to be able to do some good things with this.
I've got up on the screen right now a very, very important part. Download the free Warmachine app for rules, model stats, and abilities for both the Play and App Store. So, again, just
that too.
free access.
Yeah.
Come on, game companies, free access. If we can look at the rules and stuff for free, we're more inclined to maybe say, yeah, I'm going to spend money on this. And just to rewind a little bit there, what you're talking about too, Bruce, with what Steamforged Games has done in the past with Guild Ball and other games where, it's very faction-based and very season-based, I think they're a great company to take over the Warmahorde's intellectual property. I think they could probably do a better job than what Privateer Press did, because the way Privateer Press seemed to manage it, it was very gatekeeped as far as the community.
Yeah.
Last thing for Warmahordes is we've had a tease for... They've got a community survey on. That's odd. Where'd my Crix thing go? Oh, there it is. It's the next one. So, yeah, there's a community survey. If you're a former player, if you're a current player, I would be arguing that you kind of need to get on this, because if there's things that you feel that they need to be changing about the game to get it back to its former glory, or maybe even get it further ahead, then this is your chance to actually do that. For those of us like myself that's not really interested in the game, I have no problem with the game, I'm just not interested in it. I would be leaving this to the people that are playing or have played and would like to see something
Change.
get enhanced.
Yeah, for sure.
I would argue that this again is something that's extremely important to the game and the community if they want it to be successful. Because you don't want them doing all of this work and for the game just to not go anywhere. So,
yeah.
And then last but not least is what I thought I was looking at when I clicked on it. We have a tease of a miniature for the new Crix models, which is all dark and dirty, and oh, look how evil I am. They're like robot necromancers, right?
Yeah, they're kind of like a undead-ish, kind of a Necron. This looks Crix. There's no doubt about it. You could, completely cover Crix up, and I'd say, yeah, it's for the Crix faction. It looks good. I like it. It still follows the very aesthetic of Warmachine with that, Victorian steampunk feel.
Yeah.
So. I'm avoiding talking about what I think about this because personally I don't like the aesthetic of Warmachine. But that's a me thing, not a problem with this sculpt or the game thing. It's just I don't like the aesthetics of Warmachine. I never have. Sure. So
it's a very like it or hate it aesthetic. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that if you like it, you're wrong. It just means that I don't appreciate it. There we go. Let's have a look at some Infinity stuff. And we're starting with
Mechazoid.
The Mechazoid, which is my favorite of the two links that we're looking at.
He does look awesome with those red samurai katanas.
This is just glorious. So this is a new tag for the JSA. So it's the Japanese Separatist. What are they called? Anyway, it's the Japanese that no longer are in league with the Yotan, or whatever they're called. I'm failing on names at the moment.
So,
And they're off by
do you know
themselves.
do you know what this screams? The
Gundam?
Silver Samurai from the Wolverine.
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
This absolutely just screams that. It's not to say it's a ripoff, but oh my god, is it heavily influenced by that?
Potentially accidentally. But I'll say this. Now that you've said that, I'm looking at this and going, yeah, this is what that should have looked like. Even though like that design was the Silver Samurai in that movie was not the Silver Samurai. It was
Yeah.
it was
No,
Fox
it was
being Fox.
Yeah, it absolutely was not. I still thought it looked great.
It was
Like,
a fun design.
Yes.
I really like what they've done here. I really, really do. I only have one thing to say is that you have to look really, really close to find where on earth it tells you what faction this is for, which is in the description here.
Not on the box art.
Not that I could. Oh, there's a logo down in the corner.
Down
But
the very bottom left.
If you were looking and you didn't
Or
know
bottom
what
right.
that logo was,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is meant to go alongside. You'll see that there's a link in the description there about the JSA Action Pack. It's meant to be getting teamed up with that, which is, again, we've already looked at this in the past. It's a very nice looking box. So now, and we're also looking at some Tikbalang's armored. Yeah, that one. Tikbalang's
Chasseurs.
armored Chasseurs regiment, which is they appear to be like more of an elite squad type thing. I love the sword on their back; is just glorious. I really like it.
It's got that very, Ghost in the Shell anime feel to it, for sure.
Yeah. So it's still a tag. It's a different look.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't look quite as chunky.
No.
More stealthy. Well, it's blue, so it's not stealthy, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I really like this. I like the blue and the white too. I like the fact that it's not just all the one color.
Yeah. Break it up some, show some shape and depth to it. I will say I like the samurai one better though, as far as looks.
Yes.
Like this looks good, but that samurai one looks so much better.
Yeah, it's got more character. The posing is more interesting too.
Yeah.
Where this is just kind of it's the regular action pose
typical.
with a gun.
Yeah.
Where that one is the about to swipe through type look that you get in anime.
Yep.
But when you've got a game that's very heavily anime inspired, the Mechazoid looks anime, and the other one just looks like it could belong anywhere.
Sure.
And then we have some Warhammers. So this is kind of a simple one. We kind of knew that this was coming. I mean, we got the nice, pretty box set for the tease of Warhammer 10th edition. We now have the reveals of what's going to be in the actual starter sets. Because, again, and I know people seem to get confused about this, those original box sets are not starter sets. That's why they're so expensive. So we have an introductory set, which is just, it's what the introductory sets always are. It's a couple of small paints and a couple of things to go with it. We get like a proper, full-on starter set. And then we have an ultimate starter set. So, starter set's your middle ground. Basically, it like they're talking about like it's your middle ground. You already have your own hobby and supplies, but this is to get you into the game. Comes with 35 minis. Most of that's going to be Skaven. Well, not most of. A lot of that's going to be Skaven, I suppose, because the Skaven are more of a horde faction.
4/5 of it are Skaven, probably.
I don't think it'd be that much, but I mean, you can see in the picture that it is weighted very heavily one way or the other. So
I could have said 3/5, and only Socks would have gotten that reference, and that'd be a bad reference to make, especially with the state you're in right now, Socks.
Yes.
okay,
Bruce is a little confused right now.
yep.
Would you like a quick history lesson, Bruce?
Sure.
The 3/5 compromise. The southern states compromised, instead of counting the black slaves each as a person, counting towards representation in government. It was a 3/5 compromise. So every 5 slaves was 3 people.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all, though.
Yeah.
And then you have the ultimate starter set, which is like that includes everything. You've got the gaming mat, you've got dice, you've got that is your everything box pretty much. So whereas in the previous edition you had 3 different levels of the miniatures, they've gone in a different direction for this one.
I still want them to do starter sets of take the ultimate set and have Stormcast one box, Skaven another box. So you can still get the new stuff in one box, but you don't have to get the other stuff or find someone to split the box with or whatever.
It's hard to argue with you there. I guess the problem from a company point of view, because as far as an industry is concerned, 2-player starter sets are what sell. It's what people look for on the shelf.
So,
and from a company point of view, what we need to remember is that Games Workshop don't care about existing players. All of their products are aimed at new players.
I know, but still, it'd be really nice.
I don't disagree with you, but it doesn't fit them.
So we'll kind of be touching on this when we talk about Armored Clash, because War Cradle Studios is putting out some stuff. We kind of have an idea of what they're going to be bringing out.
Socks. We're not going to talk about Armored Clash just because you're so excited about it now.
Okay, fine. But we'll talk more about the starter sets and introductory style sets and what other companies are doing with their stuff here in a little bit. So George is excited.
Next up is Warhammer: The Old World, and the reason why I'm excited about it is because it is the best faction ever in any game ever. Dwarves.
No, I think you're confused. This is dwarves, George.
Yes, that's the best faction ever.
No. It's dwarves.
Yes, I know. My dogs are dwarves, Bruce. So.
So yeah, the dwarves were teased. The dwarves, like the big box, was put out for pre-order this week, and my first thought was, didn't they release this already? Because that's how long ago this was teased. It's been ridiculously long that I had just it came out and I'm like, oh, why are they releasing this again? They haven't. I was just confused. This is kind of looking more at what comes in the box. What is the old sculpts? What is the new sculpts? I think it's pretty fair to say that from all of the old stuff that they had, the dwarves was probably the best line they had as far as the quality of miniatures they had at the time. Because it was one that had been most recently refreshed before the line was killed.
Yeah, with the exception of some of the specialty units, like I guess the engineer and those types, a couple of the siege weapons, and the slayers. Everything else was a fairly new or recent sculpt update on the dwarves.
This Prince Ulthor's Dragon Company is very clearly old. I mean, not everything in Old World is supposed to be new. It's not supposed to be fresh. It should be with the prices they're charging, but this is what it is. I think it looks great. I mean, I'm not interested in it, but it looks great. I'm just not an Old World person, and that's
Oh, that is new. The Goblin Hewer? That is new.
That one kind of looks fun.
Goblin Hewer? What?
Scroll down.
Keep scrolling down, Bruce.
Ooh.
Below the Prince Ulthers.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's great.
It's like the dwarves were like, Oh, elves, you have a ballista? Hold our beer.
We're gonna chuck hand axes.
We're gonna make a machine that chucks. Those aren't hand axes, socks. Those are like full on axes.
Battle axes.
So I hear you like
Uh,
axes. So we've got axes with your axes, so we can throw axes while you have axes.
Yes.
Good. That is so cool looking.
Yep.
Um,
It kind of feels like a dwarf version of a goblin machine. Like, because quite
Right?
frequently you get like those goblin machines where it's like a tunnel digger type thing that they've weaponized. And this kind of feels like a dwarf version of that.
God, that's so
I
cool
I
looking.
like this. Yep. We also have something new for the Middle Earth
Middle-earth.
battle strategy game, which is The Last King of Gondor. So they seem to be continuing with their very random releases. But that's not necessarily a bad. Like this looks phenomenal. I like that he's both on horse and off horse. I think that's great. I think this is fantastic.
It reminds me too much of King Theoden.
A little bit, yeah, I can see it.
The face.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a different heraldry. It's totally different.
It is different, but
No, I get what you're saying, honestly.
Yeah.
I also, and we haven't kind of acknowledged this before, I like the fact that they are actually pointing out these days that, oh, this is what was being teased back in June in this case.
And then last on the list, we got some Necromunda.
Yep. So this is actually out for pre-order this week, I think. I could be wrong on that. Excuse me. The new Necromunda 2-player starter set is, yes, it is on pre-order. I was right. You got a decent-sized rulebook that's coming in it. It's only a softback, though. And some brand new minis. And personally, I think these minis look great. It's only kind of like one preview of them in this, but
yeah, I was scrolling down trying to find a close up.
Well, they've already
come on.
they've already been kind of shown off previously, so it was just I kind of just wanted to briefly look at it. I think the Secundus are my favorite in this. Like these are like that this is your Gene Stealer cult type thing, but different. And I'm trying to remember what the Imperative is the other one, which is it's just another Imperial type looking thing. I think it looks nice. But I don't have anything negative to say. It just looks nice.
Necromunda is one of those games where it's like there's a couple of cool minis and like sometimes it looks awesome, but I don't know much about it, so I don't. I'm like socks right now. I have no opinion.
That's fair. Let's talk about Judge Dredd then. Everybody has opinions about Judge Dredd.
The reboot needs a sequel.
I agree 100%. Judge Dredd is one of those games where like the franchise has just always been there, right? And it kind of leans itself into gaming really well. I hear that the rule set for this is phenomenal. I hear mixed opinions on what everybody thinks about the minis. I really like these particular minis, though. I find it amusing that one of them is literally called Stan Lee, aka Death Fist. That is hilarious. There is a lone superhero that kind of gives me Homelander vibes. I think that's just because that's where my head is, though. I don't think that's what it's meant to be. Rico Dredd is kind of... I don't know what went wrong with Rico Dredd, but that is just a horrible looking face that he's got. Poor bugger's been through the works. He's been rebuilt by the look of it. Devlin War kind of feels to me like an older Stan Lee. Like we've got Stan Lee up the top here, but his actual face is on the other mini.
Right.
Not that Stan Lee ever had a body like that, but... And then you've got Blanche Tatum that's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like these minis. I think these look phenomenal.
They look pretty decently all right.
I've never read the Judge Dredd comics, so I don't know these particular
Yeah,
characters.
all I know is the Stallone and Keith Urban movies. So
Yep. I mean,
Or
I've
not
done
Keith
research
Urban, that's a
online and
singer,
stuff.
Carl Urban. Carl Urban. Good lord.
I didn't even pick up that that's what you'd said to begin with. I think this looks amazing. I think they've done really well. I don't remember what's next. What's next? TT Combat stuff.
Some TT Combat stuff.
So this is actually this was teased on the 17th of July, which was a little while ago now. It's the second of the Biosopher ships for Drop Fleet Commander, and it looks phenomenal. They've done amazing work. I still love the triangle design. It's might be my new favorite aesthetic in the game.
Have you heard what I want to do with these, with that triangle aesthetic?
No.
Get some of the ultra black, like the black 3.0, whatever, and paint those triangles with that super dark light absorbing black to make them look like holes.
Just be prepared for that to annoy you, because it will not be smooth. It's not designed for miniatures, and I've never heard anybody come out of that with a happy story. I've only ever heard people be disappointed.
I've got some of it. I've used it before. You just got to thin it down and do a few coats.
I'm just warning you, because it'll end up looking a bit like a chalkboard. I think this looks. That is a really cool idea. Mm-hmm. If you was to do that, I would argue that everything else needs to be brighter than this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing I like about these is the lack of dots. Like, you've got some in between the triangle panels, but that's it. Really, I mean, it's not just covered with them.
Unlike the next model we're going to talk about.
Yep. Now, I'm going to very, very carefully pronounce this to make sure I say it right. So it's Sheltnanigan filth. Absolute filth. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. We have a new monitor for the Sheltari actually being shown off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this might be my new... There's a lot of Sheltari stuff out there, but a lot of it kind of looks the same. This is probably the first one that stood out to me as, ooh, I like this in quite a while.
It's very reminiscent of the light cruisers with it being vertical instead of yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I don't like the Sheltari ships. It's just that they kind of all look the same after a while.
Bruce is just saying he doesn't like the Sheltari because they wipe him over the board like a mop.
I mean, that is also true.
I still don't like the Sheltari, and I'm still blaming you, George.
I have never won a game against Sheltari. I tell a lie. I came close to winning a game once. Only once. And that's why I will never agree with when George complains about them being nerfed.
Correct.
They are point and shoot and easy to play. George plays them because he likes living in a place with no people, and he doesn't need to have friends. Because he has miniatures that kill everybody. He doesn't need friends.
I played them because I went with Sheltari and Drop Zone because they had the neat mechanic of, like, they're not actually there, they teleport through it. I was just like, oh, I could have fun with that. And then the natural evolution was, well, I'm going to play Drop Fleet. And then it's just like, oh, hey, look what I figured out. Oh, you suck. And I'm like, sorry.
So how do you know that somebody has a guilty conscience? When they immediately come up with an excuse, which is exactly what he just did.
Well,
I think this looks phenomenal. I'm also just being an idiot.
Well, the frigates that they were one of the first things that got nerfed with the microwave array, where they got like one dice removed from the number of dice they rolled for shots. No, that needed to happen because like that little squad of frigates was a hunter killer squad. Like it could fly around the board super quick and just like annihilate
anything
in a turn.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that's it from the TT combat side of things. Drop Squad Commander is coming, as is the new edition of Drop Fleet.
Drop Fleet. Yes, 2.0
Feels like
finally.
I suspect that the whole Home Raiders thing is not happening this year because I don't see where they're going to slot this in. There's too many things happening. As much as Louis told me that it was happening, I don't see how it's happening this year.
Yeah.
Because that was meant to be on Kickstarter. That was originally meant to be the Kickstarter in January, and they did the other one instead. I mean, I guess they could do it later in the year, but I just don't see where they're going to. There's too much going on, surely. Anyway. We got some very pretty looking buildings from Sarissa Precision.
Yeah.
Not an easy word to say. There is a lot more to these buildings than what we're looking at today. There's a whole line of these. I've kind of just picked my favorites. So this first one, it's Zone Delta Stanchion building set, which is all of these buildings are up on elevated platforms that kind of look like they've been designed to, kill anybody that's not supposed to be in the buildings because it's all pointy and threatening and all of that stuff.
They
Kind
do
of
look
has
really nice.
Space Elf vibes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the game that these scream to be used in, because there's such a wide diversity of species. These look like something from Star Wars.
Yep, I'll agree with you on that. Yep.
I was even going to say the third one, the control building, almost looks like the huts that the Ewoks had.
I would argue it's almost like the building that What's-Her-Face and the Acolyte was living in.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Acolyte, so I can't really comment. The control building that you were just saying is your favourite is also my favourite. And I would argue that it's not even close. It's not even vaguely close.
Yeah, I've got the watchtower up now, which it's so simple and it's so stunning.
Yeah.
At the same time, like there's not much to it, and it looks brilliant.
Yeah. Looking at the original buildings and the control building, I'm going to say something that I think is going to trigger every Star Wars fan on the planet.
Uh-oh.
This makes me think of this holiday special. It makes me think of Wookiee houses.
Oh, Jesus.
Maybe not the decorative elements, but just the general... It kind of feels like this is buildings that belong inside of a tree.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
So the vibe I kind of had from was Gungan, actually.
Gungan works?
Yeah.
It's an underwater type vibe, yeah. I could see that. That's why there's no real ladders and stuff to get up on top of the platforms, yep. Like I said, there is a lot more to this line. I haven't shown everything in there, but I just kind of thought these were cool.
Yeah, I've got the control building up now.
Yeah, the control building is my favorite. I love the giant hole in the middle. It's great.
This definitely has a very it's an underwater dwelling kind of building. I said because there's no ladders anywhere. How do you get to the second floor? Well, you swim. But then that leads into the argument of why do you need floors if you're constantly swimming? Ghosts just float.
Yeah.
And then this last one, this is brilliant, I think.
Yeah.
This
is a digital product. I'm kind of hoping that this is a digital product that they release as a regular line. Which is, stained glass. So this is a digital product that you can buy. You can buy each of these separately. So you can buy just the original pictures with the really pretty pictures. You can buy just the empty one so you can color it in. And then the next one, you can buy them all separately or you can buy them as a pack. I think realistically that you buy it as the pack, it makes more sense. I really like this. The church windows especially obviously stand out.
I mean,
think
and
they're
at $5,
phenomenal.
oh my god,
Yeah.
this is.
I mean, it's a digital product, so yeah.
But
I
still,
would
I
like
mean,
to see them do this as a full on, if they're not already.
for sure.
I just think that stained glass. I mean, stained glass is one of those things in miniatures that, I mean, you can do it, but most people don't because it's just a pain, right? This is just
Well,
easy.
and it's so usable. I mean, it
Yeah.
screams fantasy. Because it screams fantasy, you can use it in modern because old Gothic church and
Right.
post-apocalyptic Gothic. You know, it fits into anything 40K.
Yep.
Okay, bye socks.
Obviously, when you're printing this, you're going to be wanting to print this on like that overhead sheet type stuff, and you need to make
The
sure that it's
melamine or
going to
whatever.
be. Yeah, it
Oh,
needs to be.
he's pulling stuff
compatible
out.
with the
Oh,
printer.
he's pulling stuff out. Whip it out, socks.
That's my church that I have for my Company of Heroes game.
Oh, socks. You
only
need this.
The only
I do.
thing, the only thing is, Socks, is that you'd probably need to print on paper some samples to get the sizing right, because the sizing of this is
Absolutely.
going to be designed for larger.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Um,
when I saw this, that's what I thought. I was like, ooh, I could actually use some of this potentially.
Paint the building first.
Well, yeah, of course.
Why have you not? We pick on George about his dots all the time. Why have you not painted your building, Socks? You've owned that game for like 2 years at this point.
I'm waiting on my second edition to come out here in a few months. Next
You've
month.
had this for 2 years.
months.
You could have painted this a long time ago.
You're right. You're right.
I am projecting. I have so much terrain that's not painted.
I have terrain that's not even put together, so
I've got
You
some
see-
of that too.
you can see the boxes right up there.
But
I
I'm going to
probably have
bookmark
a
this
good
tab because
$400 worth of terrain I bought for Entropy City I haven't built.
I'm bookmarking this tab because I'm going to save this for later for when I finish that church.
Ooh, Socks is gonna spend money.
I already
he
spent
is.
money. I ordered a new game.
All right. We
Weird.
get to talk about my favorite game now. So we are scrolling down because there is more stuff on here than what we want to talk about. We are going down until you can see August, because that's the stuff we haven't spoken. We've spoken about everything else before. So we got quite a few things that's coming in our previews. We have a factory reset, which is an interesting name. that
Hold
comes
on.
with-
There we go. August. Okay. There we go. August.
Yep. Comes with Atlas and Keeney. The designs in the box look kind of nice. I like them. If you click on the pictures, George, it'll actually show you what the miniatures look like.
Yep. Already did that.
Irina is phenomenal. Super
Got some
creepy.
legs on her.
Oh, yeah. Really, really creepy. Love it, love it, love it, love it. We also have Malpractice, which is, I mean, what's not to love about this? Dr. Silas has clearly
Is
messed himself up.
amazing. Is amazing.
I want to paint Malpractice. I'm just going to say that now.
Also, I
Um,
love Trial and Error. That's like a Pain and Panic from Hercules. It's a great names for like henchmen minions.
Yeah, I'll agree
Yeah.
with you on that. And then last in this particular thing, ignore the Vagrant song because that's already existing, is 10 gauge, 10 gallons. So we have some robotic hats and Jebediah on his lovely mechanical pig.
Okay, have you ever seen the movie Meet the Robinsons? The guy with the bowler hat.
That's a good shout. That's a great shout.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what this reminds me of. The guy with the bowler hat and all his little hats that Doris or whatever the hat's name was. That
I can't think of the name of the character right now because I'm having an issue with names today, apparently.
It was
There's no-
bowler hat guy.
No. There's an arcanist guy whose thing is he has mechanical spiders, and this is very reminiscent of that. Deliberately, I would argue.
Oh God,
this is just brilliant.
I just read their names, the Haberdashers.
Yeah,
So good.
it's great. Yeah. Vagrant Song's being reprinted again. Yay. That's kind of being reprinted all the time because apparently it's great.
I thought it
And
was
then we go
Vagrant
into
Song.
that too. September releases. We got The Rotten Harvest, which is all of the effigies being re-released in a new Halloween type thing. And I don't think there's any of these that I don't like. They're all just fun, cutesy kind of thing. Like, so these are all alternate models. I don't know what I think the brutal effigy is like the headless halfling is probably my favorite. I think.
I like the Moth Munchkin just because its name is Moth Munchkin and it's
Big giant moth.
Yep.
yeah.
I really like this. I think this is fun. Into our regular releases now, we have the Slipstreamers for the Explorers, which I can't think what those. What are these things called?
Kite Surfers.
Kite Surfers. Thank you. I love this.
Yeah, they look kind of cool.
I love this. I have never seen somebody use these for miniatures before. And it just looks glorious.
They look very action-packed.
I mean, this is the sort of thing that could, like, they could just be standing here like this, right? But that, like, they really feel like they're in on it.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And Gremlins, because I love the Gremlins. Step right up. We have the hog oil salesman, as opposed to a snake oil salesman, and the swine twirlers, which are like the really fancy people at the restaurant.
Holding all the signs.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say here in America they stand on the busy intersections.
Oh, the people on
signs.
the corners. Yes.
Sending all the
Yes.
signs for the advertisement signs.
Yep. This is a box that I will have to buy because I have kin stuff. So that's going to be a purchase for me. And then, going back to the Explorer Society, we have probably the creepiest box that we're looking at so far. Because the Widder's Lane comes with what appears to be literal blood creatures and Host Ducat that seems to be controlling them. So this is, I want to say, vampires?
That alleyway echo looks stunning.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, I don't know this character, I'm guessing that that's an echo that he controls of, like, it like represents him in some way? I don't know. That's
Or it's
just
like some sort of
guess.
like summoned elemental or necro being or something like that. Because I mean, you got a little bit of a visible spine, but you got all those ethereal tendrils coming off of it.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool looking.
Yep. And suitably creepy. As is his cape, too. And then, last but not least, at least for what we're looking at here, is the Guild Starter Box. So these are simple one-piece miniatures, PVC miniatures, just designed for somebody to get into the game on the Guild Starter Box. Comes with a fate deck, comes with your measurement. There's one of these for every faction at this point, I think. I don't think we're missing any of them. I am someone on record, and I'm going to say this again, I will never touch one of these starter boxes to the point where even if there's miniatures in them that I need, I will never buy them because I hate the PVC miniatures that they use in them. I really despise them. It's just a nightmare to work with from a hobby perspective. They make a lot of sense to get new players in because weird miniatures are notoriously difficult to build, which is, for those of us that have been into the game, one of the things we like about it is that it's actually a hobby challenge. But I can't go back to these. I will never touch these again after my first experiences with them. It was that bad. But yeah, there's some really nice things coming out of Weird, as usual. Ooh, I just saw that heart spike thing again. I really like that. All right, moving on. Let's talk about some Armored Clash.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we're skipping this for you. No, so on War Cradle Studios blog, they did a launch preview of Armored Clash and what stuff is coming out. We know it's coming out later this year. No actual release date has been set as far as I can aware of. But there you can see the rules, the command deck, the dice set that you can be getting. I will definitely be buying a rule book before my faction comes out, just so I can get an idea of how the rules state. But then they've got the Crown and Empire starter set. As we know, those are the two factions that are going to be come out on release date. So it's nice that you can get two separate starter sets. That will give you everything you need for your Crown or your Empire. But then they also have two introductory sets as well.
Which
that they're
is the
going
same
to...
thing, but with the what you need to play.
Correct. And then even down below, they have a 2-player introductory set. So I know they said when they announced earlier that they weren't going to have a 2-player starter set. Well, they've, I guess, changed their minds, heard people's comments, and have decided to come out with a 2-player starter set, introductory set. So good for
Which
them.
I'm guessing is the first 2 boxes. It's basically the introductory sets put in one
Combined.
box.
Yep. Combined. And then if you scroll down even further, they've got the Imperium Lucifer and Sturmpanzer, which I am stoked about, coming early 2025. So I am looking forward to getting some Imperium sets. I'll probably be buying 2 starter sets, depending on what pieces you can build, because they are modular. So I may be buying a couple anyways, just so I can mix and match and do some playtesting. Even if it is against the Imperium themselves, we'll do some more games with the Imperium, so I can get until my Sultanate comes out later next year. So,
No, this looks great. I do like. I touched on like what the introductory sets were. The introductory sets for pretty much all of their games is exactly the same contents that comes in their starter set, but it also comes with the actual gubbins that you need to actually play the game. So it's something I wish more people did, honestly.
This is what Games Workshop needs to do. 2-player starter set, or no, I just want this.
Yeah, that is what they should be doing. It would just mean more sales. But they do this with their collector boxes. And I'm calling them collector boxes because I realize they have different names. There's only one thing on this page I don't like. I don't like the fact that the dice you can't use normal dice. It's just a personal thing. That always is kind of one of those things where I go, did you really have to make it so that you can only play with your dice? It's just, just my opinion.
Yeah. No,
I made exactly the same argument with Warcry.
I mean, if you if you stray away from like a basic D6, D8, D10, et cetera, it's you're trying to be very, very, I guess protective, because
it just means that you can make money on selling the dice. That's all it means.
Well, so it was back in the day with Warhammer Fantasy and even 40K, you had scatter dice for rolling artillery and stuff like that. And third-party dice manufacturers were making these sets of dice with the, scatter dice. And Games Workshop said, no, you can't do that.
Because it's intellectual property.
Yeah, so I don't like it when they do that.
It is what it is. I mean, that's not why these guys are doing it, but it's fairly common in the industry. It is something that a lot of people don't like, but it's fairly common in the industry having proprietary dice, because it means that people can't just use regular dice; they have to buy your dice, which means that you can make money. It's a marketing thing. It also means that you can have more flexibility in how the game works. You're not just relying on numbers. So you will have it's usually like a success or a crit type situation.
Yeah.
So it's not just a thing about sometimes it is a mechanical thing as well. It is something I have avoided with Entropy City because it's something I don't like. All right, moving on to
Indie.
Indies.
Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
this is maybe the silliest one that we're going to have covered for a very long time.
Ducks.
So, Mike Epic Duck Cousins is a sculptor, a painter. He's the guy that does those comic book style paint tutorials that we've talked about a few times that I was using for my MCP stuff while I still had it. And these are he has his own, there is a tribe thing that you can join, but he has his own miniatures that you can actually buy. And there's more of these being added all the time. And in particular, I just want to look at the ducks.
I just found the Tau ducks.
Yep.
The pond flyer warrior.
It's these are, in some ways, the stupidest things I have ever seen. But in others, I love these so much. They are so good. So I've just kind of opened up all of the rubber ducks for the moment. Starting with the astral duck, which is definitely not a rubber duck, but for Eldar. It's definitely not that. It's an Eider Guardian. See, it doesn't say Eldar at all. It might be my favourite twist of the Eldar name I've ever seen, actually. It's just changing it to an I. Because it does legit make it look like a different word.
I just opened up the Imperial Guard rubber duckies.
Yep. They're next. This is the sort of thing that you could have so much fun with. I mean, I know that they would all end up looking the same, but could you imagine somebody doing a full army of these?
Oh, jeez.
They would all end up looking the same. It would look really dumb, but it would be the right type of dumb. I like the fact, he's also, he's done different versions. So there's a scowling one, there's one with a flashlight and a backpack, and then there's one with both, so that you can actually kind of make them all look different. It's just cool. Up next, we have the Xeno Hive Crumb Stealer, which is a Tyrannid. And it's awesome. Seriously, these things are just so dumb and brilliant. I love it. The
Ridiculous.
Astral Duck is definitely not Necron. This is probably my favorite, I think. The Astral Duck one.
Where's the Astral Duck?
Right below the Xenohive. 1, 2, 3, 4, third row. Like from the right.
I must be on a different.
I just went to the store page.
So on the store page,
Oh, okay, there we go.
you can click on store, and then you can open up a tab that's just rubber ducks. And there you go.
Now it's on the first row.
I'm not seeing the rubber ducks. I was looking at the main page for the ducks.
Yep. So on the main page, there's a tab that says store.
Yep.
And then there's pinned collections. The very first one says rubber ducks.
Oh, I see it. Okay. There we go.
What I've done is I've just opened one in every tab just so that I've got them open. But
Yep. There's the Duckron.
yeah, it's just brilliant. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite so far. I can tell you that if/when he does a Kroot, I'm 100% buying it. Part of me wants all of them.
I just opened up the Orc Duck.
That the next one? Astral Dork. Yeah. I do like that name. That's brilliant. It's safe. I like the fact that the beak is shorter too, because it just makes it feel more orky.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's made out of cement, but he floats because he believes he does.
So and then I just opened up the Space Marine ducks,
Space Marine Ducks is
the Astral Marine rubber duck.
Yep. So there's a robed version and a normal version. So you've got a version that is just the armor, and then you've got another one with the bolter, which is nice. He had a series of pictures that he was putting out where he's painted these as every faction as well, which is kind of fun. So you can go through and you can actually scroll through a lot of the photos that he's done. So he's got the salamanders, and he's also got an Imperial Guard, not an Ultramarine one as well. And then you've also got a specific one for the Dark Angels, which is just glorious in their little robes.
There's Cthulhu duckies.
Yes.
Yep. Cthulhu is all gloriously and hideously horrible with his little paintbrush. One of them has a paintbrush. There's also artist ducks.
That's a this is a very fun find.
I've been following Mark on social media for years at this point. Ever since I first found his art style, because I just really, really appreciate it. And
my god,
he's been making different like sculpts for a while, and this is the sort of one that was like, this is just so dumb. I kind of have to talk about this. You said, "Oh my god," about something.
I just found the Astral Duck Marine heads, so you could replace the heads of your Space Marines with duck heads.
Oh, I think I like that idea.
There we go. Look at the app. I've got.
He's got a picture of one. It's all painted up. It looks awesome.
I kind of really want to do this now.
Yeah, that is a Space Marine Primaris Hellblaster, but it has a duck head.
Oh, I want to do this so badly. For two reasons. A, this looks fun. Also, I want to see the anger on people's faces when you turn up to a table with an army of them. I'm not building a Space Marine army, but...
Also, you have to paint them in the scheme of the Mighty Ducks cartoon. That was based off for the hockey team.
Oh, that'd be so funny. I think Bruce just hurt himself.
Did we hurt you, Bruce?
I did. Because I went to react and I threw my arms up. Lovely. Thank you, painkiller. That would have been a lot worse if I didn't have the painkiller. Yeah. You're back at the regular store, right, George? I'm guessing that's why you found those.
I think you just did Astral Marines instead of rubber ducks. You just did Astral Marines.
No, all I was going to say is that on that very first store page, there's also a can coaster and a paint holder so that you can't spill your washes.
Oh, I see those.
Little rubber duck rings.
Oh, yeah, I do. I did see those too.
You can scroll down. There's actually like some dungeon stuff as well. I really like the super cute slimes that he's done. They are just... Yeah. They might be my... Again, just love them. The little, like, trash rubbish raiders is awesome too. Somewhere here we have a zombie duck, because of course ducks is obviously his thing. There's a candy corn zombie. And an adventuring zombie. Sorry, an adventuring duck, rather. He's just got some really fun things, and it's stuff that nobody else is really doing. Oh, the Behold Dork might be worth opening up for the stream.
Yep.
Which is just like it's a young, stereotypical geek from the movies.
It's a beholder, but it's wearing glasses.
Yeah. Brilliant. And he's wearing glasses on every eye stalk.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. So there we go. That's Epic Duck. If you haven't, I would highly recommend subscribing to him on YouTube and checking out his Twitch channel. He is a full-time content creator. It's just that he's really worth your time, especially if you like that cell shaded type look, because he's the one that started it, as far as I know. And if he didn't start it, he specialized it. Hobby?
Dream, blue, crying, faint.
I expect you've been doing a lot of hobby, right, Bruce?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have nothing to talk about hobby-wise. In theory, I actually do have all of my fine movement. So in theory, I could paint. I'm just not comfortable enough to paint.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
How about we talk about me at the end, and we talk about what you guys have been up to, because it's probably more interesting for the viewers.
So I got this. It doesn't look
Nice.
like much.
A little screen.
It's an Echo Show 15. So essentially, it's an Amazon Echo, but it's a smart TV as well. So it's got all of my streaming apps on it, and it's a decent size. So I mean, 15 inches. So it'll allow me to put a show on while I paint. Because let's be honest, who watches stuff while they paint?
Or listens to music or whatever.
Listens to more, yeah.
Yeah.
I find if I'm watching things, I get distracted by it. Whereas if I have to have something going on, but watching is usually a problem.
So usually for me, when I'm watching something, when I'm painting, it's, I'm on my fourth or fifth watch of, Stargate or Star Trek or Game of Thrones or something. Something I don't have to pay. Yeah, I don't have to pay attention to.
For me, that's where I usually do podcasts, is when I'm painting.
So, and my issue was I used my iPad for that a lot, but the speakers on the iPad they didn't cut it, and the speakers on this thing, it's loud. Unfortunately, to have it set up here, the power strip is on the other side of my desk, and the power cord isn't long enough. So I'm now currently waiting for an extension power cord for it.
Yep, that makes sense.
So,
have you been having fun unpacking?
I've been messy. I've been messing around with TPU filament, the flexi rubber filament.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I printed off a little swirl.
Nice.
So, it's really interesting stuff. It's funky.
Difficult to work with, from what I've always heard.
The big thing is you have to slow it down. The print speed. So whatever the default was, which is like, what I just halved it, and it's printing fine.
Okay.
There is a lot of cleanup though, but yeah, just slow it down 50%, and it prints fine. So,
have you been having fun unboxing stuff, Socks?
Again, yeah. So, yeah, you can see it.
You can pack it all up in a month, and we'll help you move. We'll get you to move again.
No, I don't want to. I want to stay put for a couple of years at least. But no, as you can see here in the back corner, that's where my painting table. I don't have it as glamorous as George does, but hey, look, I actually have a little painting corner, and then I still have. I'll pan the camera around. I still have my space for my games. I've been building all my Legos again, rebuilding them, I should say, and hanging them back up there so I can get them up and out of the way instead of.
They make for a nice backdrop. They actually do.
Yeah. There is a space on the shelf right there where my finger is pointing. The moon buggy is coming out later this year, so that will be where that goes when I build that one. So
nice.
But yeah, I will be busy though because I talked to you guys before the podcast started. I sold all my Star Wars Legion or Armada stuff within 4 days of posting it, and have since ordered Hell Caesar Epic, and it is showing up on Monday. So I will have some videos to put out as well as some stuff to show off in a couple weeks. as well.
Nice. Which will be good because I'm kind of not really able to film much at the moment.
Yeah, you're kind of.
I have started a video that I now can't finish yet. The unboxing portion is done, but it was going to include a hobby, which is it's
Not happening
gonna be
right
happening. No.
Yeah.
So I will talk about what that is in a sec.
So that's what I've been up to, other than helping the wife unpack the rest of the house, which we're almost done. So, but school officially starts on Monday, so we'll see how my school year goes as I get into this.
I was gonna say, you guys got to be pros at this point, packing and unpacking.
Yeah, we pretty much know what boxes go and everything like that. So,
well, before my lovely accident, I did start building. So the video that I'm working on is the gnomes for Blood Bowl.
nice.
All right, I'm slow.
I was gonna say, see how you could do that, Bruce, without hurting yourself more.
As long as I'm slow, it's okay. Like, I'm not pain-free ever at all at the moment. The thing that I'm finding frustrating more than anything else is that I just can't be comfortable ever at all. So I bought 2 of these. I did mention that last episode. You can kind of build them so that they look different. Like, they are posable, but you can also kind of choose which branches and stuff you put on so that they don't all look the same. Somebody was a horrible person.
No,
to
it was
me.
an awesome idea.
And they suggested that I should print out 3D print Gargamel because my gnomes are going to be painted up to be Smurfs. And that's the reason why I was going to kind of like do some hobby as part of the video. So the unboxing portion of it is filmed up to the point where I was like, the next time you see me, which will probably be in a couple of weeks, everything will be primed and I'll be showing you what colors I'm using and so on and so forth. And I can't really do that at this stage.
Did you guys hear the thunderclap over my mic or no?
Nope.
Oh. We just had a really loud thunderclap.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Yes. So hopefully power and everything holds out.
Yeah. If George goes away, all of a sudden you don't like, folks.
If George goes away all of a sudden, potentially we've lost our recording.
Yeah.
Right? Of everything.
On Monday last week, on my way home from work, I was traveling down the road to home. I was about halfway between home and work because I actually live really close to work. Be jealous. It takes me like 3 minutes to get to work. About 5 minutes to get home.
Takes me 3 seconds to get to work, so I'm not jealous.
I was traveling about 40k an hour down the street, and a guy went to slow down for a stop sign, and then has obviously misjudged and tried to gun it as far as he can out in front of me, and had misjudged it because I had like 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters to try and stop. I literally had enough time to do this and get onto my brake. That's all I had. He hit me with that much force that the motorbike was spun 180 degrees before I hit the ground. So I was doing 40k an hour, around 25 mile, and I went to a complete stop in an instant. This wasn't a matter of I got slid across the road or anything. Like, I was just bang, brick wall, essentially. And the guy didn't stop after running a stop sign and potentially killing somebody because he didn't know whether I was alive or not. And there's no way he didn't notice that happened. There's also no way that he didn't see me because realistically, if he hadn't have seen me, he wouldn't have been trying to go that quickly. He was, in my estimation, probably doing about the same speed I was because he did not stop. He slowed down and then went, stuff it, I can make it. Or at least this is my impression of what he said. And so, yeah, I had just left work at the hospital and I pretty much went straight back. And I've been in pain ever since. I'm very, very lucky. I don't have any broken bones. I don't know about damage to muscle because I wasn't really checked for that. I probably am going to need some physiotherapy. So it's my right shoulder. I don't know if it's obvious on camera, but one of my shoulders doesn't actually sit as low as the other one. 'Cause I
You're
can't-
sitting
I
kind of
can't
an
fully
angle, so it's a
relax.
little. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a little hard because you're kind of sitting like this, so it's like there's that forced perspective thing going. So
This one is slightly higher than that one.
yeah,
I just can't fully, completely relax it. So
the most important thing to take away though, folks, is Bruce always wears a helmet, and we know this because he got really irritated a couple years ago because his helmet got stolen, and we decided to chip in to.
Yep.
it's actually
He-
illegal
he-
not to ride without one.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No.
We have
not here.
smart laws, not stupid ones.
So, but he was wearing a helmet. The brain was mostly protected, so for the most part, you can tell it's still the same Bruce. He's always been a little slow. So
Yeah, I was wearing everything. The only part of my gear I wasn't wearing is I had my sneakers on, runners, or as I called them, sand shoes, and George got very confused. So yeah, things could have been a lot worse. I still don't understand how I was traveling and stopping that quickly and nothing got broken. It
Yeah.
really doesn't make any
You
sense.
got lucky.
I got
yeah,
very,
super
very
lucky.
The thing that annoys me the most is, ironically, not the fact that my bike is probably stuffed. I don't have answers on that yet, but I suspect that it'll be written off, unfortunately. Hopefully not. I would love to have my bike continue to live. The thing that annoys me the most is a brand new helmet. Now I have to get another one. I really liked my sexy helmet.
Bruce, the fact that it was a new helmet was probably better because then it hasn't aged or had anything happen to it, so it was at peak condition to do its job. So
true, it is true. So yes, my new favorite lollies. I'm enjoying these lollies on a regular basis now. Like I'm on regular paracetamol and regular ibuprofen. I wasn't given anything at all. I've had to source it myself. There's two types of people when it comes to painkiller, and I'm pretty sure that both of you will know both of these people. Either give me whatever you need to give me, I just want the pain to go away, or I don't really like painkiller, I'll only take it if I have to. I am the second person. I'm the one that gets told off for not taking painkiller. I have not been pain-free since Monday night, and I don't think I'll be pain-free for a while.
yeah, I'm not a painkiller guy, but anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen, like I said, I will do lines of that off of a keyboard.
Yeah. Not good for your kidneys.
No.
But
Yeah, it's a
None of
military
his-
thing though. That's why they say drink water and take Motrin.
Vitamin M.
Yep, vitamin M.
so yeah, that's my story. My story is not a great one.
No, we're just happy you're around still and not in more pain than what could have been.
Until yesterday, folks, just a bit of behind the scenes. Until yesterday, the plan was I wasn't going to be here. So the reason why, if any of the stuff on screen and stuff hasn't been matching up with what I've been talking about, is because I'm not doing it. George is. I have the ability to use my mouse and everything, but I don't really have the energy to spend 4 hours doing video editing today and uploading everything. So I've left that to George. But I'm here at all. So let's move on.
Hence the jokes about the Entropy City stuff because.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
Bruce found a great article for Monolith, so let's jump into that.
Actually, to give credit,
Talk nerdy to me.
Shay shared this. I had actually seen this already, but I don't remember who it was that shared it to me originally. So this is an article that was put out by Monolith Games about a week ago, I want to say. Which is it's an open letter to pledges. I'm not going to read all of this, but I will start with the first page. The gaming crowdfunder sector, not page,
Paragraph.
paragraph. Thank you. The gaming crowdfunding sector is in crisis, but Monolith is more resilient than ever. So obviously, like, there's problems, but we're okay. Because you put out a thing like this, and the first thing people are going to think is, oh, Monolith are in trouble. And they were like, either of you recall what I first said when I shared? I know George didn't, because he didn't read it and then called to make sure I was okay. George panicked. The first thing I did was, first, before you read anything else, I'm okay. And then explain what happened. So, you will have been notified that the gaming crowdfunding sector is undergoing a first crisis of its relatively short lifespan so far. This is partially tied to the more general economic crisis that has gripped the gaming sector as a whole, the end of COVID-19 pandemic. However, it's been enormously amplified by the terrible crisis of confidence caused and by the past, present, and likely future failures of companies with dubious business practices. Mythic Games. I have spent many years warning against such practices in articles on websites and on social media, and the risks they pose to the entire sector, as have we, folks. I've also advocated for rigor over extravagance, professionalism, and over promises. Today, I feel obligated to intervene once again, to explain that it is irrational to punish the ants for making mistakes made by the grasshoppers. To paraphrase Aesop's fable. Some companies in our sector are reliable and in good health. They have capital, cash flow, and a small payroll, and they are rigorously managed by experienced people. Monolith is one of them. And then he goes on to explain further about where the problems lie. A lot of the things that's being talked about in this article are things that we have discussed in the past. I jokingly did the whole Mythic Games thing, but it's a big one. And up here, last episode, we talked about how a company was being sold that hadn't delivered their product. And the big thing over that was that it hadn't been finished. And there was accusations that they had launched new campaigns to fund the original one, which is basically what Mythic Games had been doing. He starts by talking about campaigns that are being run, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Literally, it's the first thing he talks about because it has become that prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that because this has been happening so regularly, people are backing out of crowdfunding, which is causing a crisis. That and cost of living has gone up, which doesn't help either, and it's all kind of snowballing.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect for sure.
Yep. So, this is a decent-sized article. He actually gives an example of one of their campaigns. This particular campaign, the original 1.5 million, after paying fees, we deducted 150,000 in VAT, 60k in containers, approximately $12 a pledge, 300k in last mile delivery, and 300k in manufacturing. In total, this comes to 810k, which is more than 50% of the overall funds raised. And this is where we had an interview with someone that had been going through a crisis now, Platypus Industries.
Right, yeah.
And one of the things he talked about early on was that he over-researched this to avoid this problem. Still had some issues, but has also actually stepped forward and genuinely done some things to try to solve this. And this is just kind of reiterating a lot of points that he made. So their income is from the campaign, extra revenue, da-da-da-da-da. literally breaking down all of the costs, all of the expenses from $1.5 million, and they're left with $140K, which is their profit from $1.5 million.
I mean,
which is a decent chunk.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say that's a decent chunk. That's payroll for 3 people, essentially. Like just extra payroll sitting around. And yeah, it's look at this. It's one, first of all, thanks Monolith for actually publishing this and sharing this, because this is a great insight of where funds actually go, because I'm sure these are numbers pulled from one of their campaigns or approximate of one of their campaigns, because one, I'm going to say CMON and Awaken Realms, probably the 2 most successful crowdfunding companies out there.
Oh, well, in our space, that'd have to be.
Yeah. Sure, they may be late, but they've never hinted at an issue. They've always delivered. They make everything look green and shiny.
They are the example of the company that people want to become.
Yeah.
And are trying to pretend they are.
Mm-hmm. When you turn around and not to say Platypus Industries, because he is delivering.
Yes, he is.
He did have his hurdles, so good on him. But
I was just using that as an example of like someone that has tried to do the right thing and still has had problems.
Yeah. When you have a company like Mythic, like looking at this, like they're looking at a net 140K profit. Look at the issues that Mythic has refused to actually acknowledge, and has put the blame on other things. The war in Ukraine. Like, okay, sure, COVID-19, yep, that's valid, but war in Ukraine, you're in France, your manufacturing's in China. Like, what does that have to do with anything? The one thing that Mythic Games did was they got sloppy. They used intellectual property that they didn't have the rights to. They got sued. They lost. That cost money. And that's, I think, where... Oh, yeah. You did not know that?
Which one did they use that they didn't have permission for?
It was one of the Joan of Arc things.
Ah, okay, fair enough.
Mythic.
That's early in their life, then.
Well, but if you look, everything, we've got Super Fantasy Brawl, Hell of the Lost Saga, Darkest Dungeon. Everything has come after that, and they've been trying to recover from that. I guarantee.
Oh, so the issues started before we thought they did. Okay, right.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I learned something.
Oh, that's a recent one.
Another company is Bad Crow Games, the maker of Company Heroes, the board game. It was a successful Kickstarter.
Yep.
Then the owner unexpectedly died at the end of Espen Spill a few years ago, right in the middle of trying to get the second edition Kickstarter going. And so
they've actually managed to keep going, which still surprises me.
They're talking to us as backers. They've had some production delays, but they're hoping to get stuff shipped out in the next month or two to all of us.
Long story short, if you have a company that's out there that is giving excuses for delays are fine, because it does talk about delays here as well. And I'm not arguing against this point, but when those excuses are blatant half-truths that don't make sense when you stop to think about it, that's where you're going to start having issues. Yeah. Because Mythic Games survived on half-truths for about 2 years. They're still surviving on it now. They still haven't been honest about any of the thing that's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. So this is a really good article. I mean, I know we're using examples of things that we've talked about in the past, but this is...
Yeah, it's really interesting because, I mean, I don't see CMON stopping anytime soon, especially with their exclusivity on GameFound now. I don't see Awaken Realms stopping anytime soon because, again, it's working for them. They're still pumping stuff out. They're still, I will forgive delays all day long because if it's being delayed, that
I will
means...
forgive appropriate delays.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so so we'll say 6 months, right? 6 months is an appropriate delay. When
6 to 12 is fine, so long as there's communication
So
and not lies.
right, yeah. So in the process of and let's be honest too, when it comes to CMON got their start from Kickstarter, like with Zombicide. That's how it happened. So, and I think that's where they have a bit of an advantage. Is this is how we ran the first one, and they're just they're following it like textbook on everything else. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and they've had no issues. Whereas Mythic Games, they did something, they had a setback, and then they just continue to compound their problems by continuing to push to make more to fix the issue.
Yeah. Mythic Games will fall over. They have lasted 12 months longer than we predicted. They will fall over. It will happen.
Well, I just when I was searching for they had a Kickstarter suspended because they weren't paying out their share royalties on the intellectual property for something else. It was Joan of Arc. But I also just saw an interesting one is there's actually talks of a possible lawsuit against Mythic Games for refunding collected VAT on the intellectual properties they've sold.
Which is illegal, yeah.
So their woes are not over yet. And as far as I know, they've delivered Siege 6 and it's been silenced from them. So
in regards to that VAT thing, you called that.
Well, it was collected after.
You said this was coming.
Oh yeah, well, that was collected for that shipping, right? Well, they're not shipping it, so they need to refund that.
Yeah,
that was money collected for the sole purpose of VAT and shipping. Yeah. And if you do the numbers of pledges and whatnot, that's a lot of money that they need to refund. Period. Yeah. And not this whole we'll get to it.
Yeah. So they talk about chronic delays because obviously delays is part of Kickstarter, but he goes into more detail about cost of materials, like the delays and the costs associated with them that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, that communities will argue against when they happen. Because this has been what happened with the Platypus Industries one, is that there was a delay and therefore the production cost went up and he had a shortfall.
Mm-hmm.
They talk a little bit about the transformations that they had a couple of years ago when they saw that the industry was changing a little bit. And that they have not, you'll like this one, George, to avoid falling into this trap, Monolith transformed its model 2 years ago. In the new system, campaigns are never launched until the development phase is finished. Hell of a last saga.
I'm going to go in here and say I believe that's specifically in the Kickstarter terms and conditions that you must have a working, completed prototype. That's a board game. You can have, certain things, that are not finished yet because you're going to get it sculpted, molded, blah, blah, blah. But you need to have a completed working game to say, here's the game, back it. According to all the heartache on the updates with Hell of the Last Saga, the game was not even finished, a year after the campaign ended.
Yeah.
So
I think the problem with games in that space is that it's kind of a very large grey area as to what a prototype is. I mean, by rights, I could probably go on Kickstarter tomorrow with Entropy City and meet those conditions. Entropy City is not ready for a global campaign.
Yeah.
Not even close. And I'm not saying that people would back it, but just according to that rule, I could be on Kickstarter tomorrow trying to raise money for Entropy City,
So
and I would have a working prototype. I had a working prototype 2 years ago. 12 months ago.
So I'll refine my statement a little bit there then. Well, it was I think it was right at the launch, or it was a little before the launch. I saw a play test of Masters of the Universe by Simon, by a channel that's obviously much bigger than us, and they get things like prototype games. And essentially, they got a real retail copy of the game to sit down and play a game with before the Kickstarter was launched. That's that's what Monolith is talking about. That's what Mythic didn't do. That's what are the other companies that they've had to sell and shutter up. That's they didn't do that. They said, here's the concept, here's some
which is why I'm pointing it out.
Yeah. So
why is it important to guarantee that development's been fully paid before the start of a campaign? Because if you don't do that, costs can change. You have to get things in contracts, otherwise they can change them on you. And they will. It talks about breaking even points and actually how to calculate them. So what you actually need to achieve, what you're hoping to gain, the deliverability threshold, because it's quite common in this industry to have a lower pledge amount than what you need for the game to be successful. It actually happens way too frequently, and it's another reason why a lot of these things fall over, because they get enough for it to be popular, but not enough for them to actually get the product out at the price that they have promised. Not everybody is as open about the fact that they've done, because if they get more money, then it doesn't matter. But if George did a campaign tomorrow and he needed to raise $80,000 to break even, but he had a campaign goal of $60,000 and raised $75,000, George has a problem.
Yep. He's got to fork out $5,000.
If he's open about that information, he may be able to get the rest of those funds later. But he's probably not going to mention that, because that'll make people panic and they're not going to hand over any more money. Is the issue that you will face.
Yeah, if I need $80,000, I need to at least, set the campaign goal of $100,000.
Because the other problem is that if you have a goal that's too big, there's a lot of people that won't look at it until it's funded, and therefore it fails. If delivery is achievable, why there's so many failures? Like, this is very, very in depth. Occasionally, insufficient funds raised to guarantee the financing of projects. Like, it talks about a lot of traps that people are putting themselves into. Now, we use Mythic Games as an example because they are arguably one of the most notorious ones. It's probably fair to say that at least early on, a lot of these mistakes weren't deliberate. The fact that they haven't been communicating and have been openly lying for a long time is deliberate. But a lot of what got them in trouble was mismanagement, which is exactly what this is talking about.
Well, and I'm going to highlight this portion here because I'm showing the page on the chat. Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
That right there, that is the most important part, because I guarantee you, we'll use Darkest Dungeon, right? They had such a shortfall on that. They got a kickback from, or not a kickback, an additional contribution from the game developer itself. I'm talking the video game developer. And I guarantee you, they pulled funds from their other successful completed campaigns.
Without question. It's pretty clear.
And then still had to ask for an additional contribution, which it snowballed. And they had to ask a contribution on Siege 6. They had to sell almost all their intellectual properties. On top of then, they still had to sell... No,
they have sold everything now. They've sold everything.
Well, no, they haven't sold everything, because they still have Rise of the Necromancers. They still have Monster Apocalypse. So they still have stuff.
That's not their IP. Monster Apocalypse isn't theirs.
But they have licensing rights to it.
Fair.
So they haven't sold that licensing rights. but they sold Hell and Anastair. They sold those, which are unfulfilled campaigns. And fortunately, the aforementioned Simon, who is a big successful company who does know how to do a Kickstarter campaign, who is still very successful running these Kickstarter campaigns. They have the know-how to say, we're going to take this game, we're going to turn it into our own game, and hey, backers of this game, we're going to give you, plus shipping, a copy of the core game, which goes back to, hey, Mythic, give me my shipping back because I need to give it to Simon now.
Yeah.
So
the biggest piece of advice that people continue to give to this day, and the one that continues to be ignored, unfortunately, is if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yep.
There are $1 million companies that exist purely and solely just to advertise a campaign and get the excitement out there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't always work, but for the big ones that are out there, like, you can receive a pretty average game that sounded like the best thing ever. Like, this happens all the time. This is going to sound like I'm giving shade. I'm not. Let's be fair, with a lot of Simon's games feel very similar because the core mechanics are usually Zombicide, but with something changed.
Well, and I will argue that's probably why they're able to be so successful, is because
that's why
they're
I was
taking, they're taking their 100% piece right here, and they're changing this part and adding this part on, and that gives them a good working game at half the development time. Which, they're a company that's in the business of making money. If it's working for them, there's no reason for them to stop doing it. Because I will argue some of the best games I've played have come from that, manufacturer.
Yeah, it's not like everybody has stolen Zombicide at this point. I used to own the Ghostbusters game. It was literally Zombicide, but with Ghostbusters in it. Like, it was the worst hidden secret. And they got 2 versions of the game released. They did one for the second movie as well.
Jeez.
I did enjoy the game, but it was just Zombicide, but with Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any thoughts before... I'm going to finish with the conclusion, but does anybody else have any thoughts on the topic?
No.
Stocks hasn't...
No.
You haven't actually had anything fail that you've backed, right?
Nope. Because I did Drop Fleet. I've done Company of Heroes. Those are the 3 that I've done.
Yep. That was 2.
Wow. The second edition of Company of Heroes, but yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Because I did the first one and now I'm doing the second one of it. So.
Yep.
I am looking real quick. I'm not logged in. I want to say the only thing that I've had failed is Hell the Last Saga.
I have a friend that we have banned from backing Kickstarters because every time he backs something that we're involved in, it falls over. So if you've ever had a campaign that fell over, it's my friend's fault.
Did he back Hell the Last Saga?
No, he's banned started. He's banned started before then, but we can blame him anyway.
I'm just looking here.
It's just between us.
Everything I've backed, I've gotten except for Hell the Last Saga. Oh, there's the multifunction mag holder, multifunction modular card, token holding box. But that was also
the paint station thing.
Well, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Because that was actually happening until it didn't. Because
never officially said anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Everything else. Yeah. Everything else. It was just it's hell. And don't get me wrong. I was pretty close on Darkest Dungeon. I almost did do Siege 6 because it was like, ooh, a shooter board game. But I'm sitting here like I have not been getting, the good consistent updates, blah blah blah, and it's just like something started to feel off about Mythic when I was just literally emailing every day like, I'm trying to pay my shipping for round 2 of Super Fantasy Brawl. Take my money for shipping. Like, they were having issues and like couldn't be bothered to take money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So look, if something sounds too good to be true, if something sounds massively overhyped, look at it closer. I won't say what the campaign is, but there was a campaign that I shared with George earlier in the week that I basically said, this is dodgy as hell. George didn't quite agree with me at the time. But basically the reason I gave is that the price, if this was like a wood project for like game accessories. And
yeah,
they
it was
were
like
advertising.
it was a
Yeah, like
book with like a little magnetic dice roller, and it like could hold like
Yeah.
your dice and pens and stuff to go to a D&D
was cool.
campaign. Yeah.
But the
And
problem was that the prices they're advertising is just not possible for the product that they say that they're going to deliver. It's just not happening. It's
well,
too good to be true.
what really did it was when they said they had rest of the world shipping for $15.
That too, yeah.
Where rest of the world does Australia fall in $15? Nowhere.
I'm sorry, but even if that was being made in China and being shipped from China, it would still be more expensive than that. And that's the cheapest postage we would have had.
Yeah.
That is a scam. And what? So why are we not talking about it and pointing it out? Because that still works as advertisement.
Yeah.
But I don't want me flagging something to be.
Yeah, and to be fair too, I mean that's really not our. Yeah, we'll talk about some D&D stuff, but I mean that's not really our topic of conversation.
Yeah.
The Toyzo gaming table. Oh yeah, we'll rip that apart all day long on scam, don't back this, scam, don't back this, scam, don't back this. Especially when there was another company that was getting ready to launch a campaign for a portable gaming table, saying, "Hey, be careful of this. This looks like it might be a scam." Like,
yeah.
So,
I think it's still funded too.
What Toyzo?
The problem, I think it's still funded.
Yeah, it is.
Conclusion.
It was supposed to be delivered by February and March, which it hasn't. So
yeah, it was never being delivered. I know that this text was long and a bit technical in parts. We haven't covered a lot of the technical stuff. I've just kind of glazed over the subject. However, I believe that it's crucial to explain in very concrete terms, using examples, how unfortunately widespread practices in our sector have led to and will continue to lead to too many delivery failures and consequently to crises in confidence like the one we're now dealing with. It was important to remind everyone that the main cause of failures is delays in project completion, which places a heavy burden on development costs. I can speak to this from personal experiences. So Monolith has been very late on many projects, particularly on recent delivered ones. By observing and measuring the impact of these delays on profitability, we were able to radically transform our process 2 years ago. Today, we're able to assure that our backers that we will be capable of delivering a project for which we have collected funding. Otherwise, we would not run a campaign to the end, and we would not collect any money. Easy to say, hard to prove, but they have proven it. Our projects arrive on Kickstarter already having completed, have already had rigorous assessed for feasibility. Each project is watertight, leaving nothing to chance. I therefore would suggest that you be more selective when choosing the project owners with whom you entrust your money, which is basically what I was just saying. And always trust rigor over glamour, at least until crowdfunding platforms finally apply stringent checks on the profits and losses of the projects they host and financially solidify. Financial solidity of the owners. in order to provide backers with a guarantee of delivery. To finish, in the next few weeks, I'll be meeting with the heads of Kickstarter to discuss the rollout of a policy of strictly feasible checks for projects, combined with labelling systems which would help backers judge the reliability of a project to its owners. I sincerely hope that they listen to my proposals. Fred Henry. I'm mentioning the name because I think the man needs some credit for the work that he's done.
Absolutely.
So that ends on arguably the biggest problem that we have in this industry from a crowdfunding perspective, which is that every single site that this is being done on, not my problem.
Yep.
Kickstarter will not guarantee everyone anything. They make it very clear. They will not even guarantee to push on the people that are failing.
Yep.
It took, I want to say, 7 failing campaigns before they finally blocked Mythic.
Well, no. So it was 6 campaigns. They had 7 campaigns. The one campaign was launched on GameFound because Kickstarter does have a limit of you can only have 6 open campaigns.
Yep.
That being said, now too, as a caveat to this conclusion, where he wants to work with Kickstarter to put some stuff in place, that is part of the reason why I believe CMON has stepped away from Kickstarter and is exclusively on GameFound, because GameFound is the appropriate platform now. Kickstarter can go do whatever it needs to do for whatever. As far as like the board gaming and gaming world, GameFound is, I would argue, the platform right now for any sort of crowdfunding for a board game, because that's all they're focusing on. They know how to do it, and they have a handful of companies that are exclusive on their platform that know how to do this. CMON, Awaken Realms, a bunch of others. Like the stability of funding on GameFound is amazing. And to that fact of, with all the stuff happening with Mythic in the beginning, GameFound was much more responsive and actually addressing and talking about the issue of this company, saying, hey, we can't do anything, but this is what we are doing to stop any more of this from them, to keep them from taking more money until they address these issues.
Yep.
So,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong on this, but I think Monolith are owned by CMON.
No, I think they're still
maybe they're both just owned under Asmodee then.
Yes,
I thought there was I thought there was a connection there somewhere.
So Asmodee is like owns Miniature Market, which now has the exclusive distribution for CMON in the US, I believe. But even then, I think that's changed some, because like my little Cthulhu that showed up, that didn't come through anything Asmodee. I think that was just like a separate thing. So I'm wondering if that's changed now too. But as far as because I remember when the first big news with Mythic that things aren't good when they started selling stuff, and CMON bought Super Fantasy Brawl and Monolith bought Joan of Arc, like 2 separate companies buying stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have just been like, CMON, Monolith, they have bought everything that is not a Kickstarter from us right now.
Yeah, and they were, yeah. So yeah, this is an important subject. It's something that we need to cover more. We've made a point when we're talking about Kickstarters that we are very selective with what we talk about. If something sounds too good to be true, then we probably shy away from it. And we will continue to encourage you all to do the same thing. Because unfortunately, a lot of people out there that are just putting money out with hopes and wishes and dreams, which is not going to end well. Events?
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
The Melbourne Figure Painters Collective is meeting right now at the gaming arena. It's from 12 till 5. Obviously, I won't get there because I don't have a way of getting there. But
you're not going to walk or ride your bike?
I had to, when I got my bike home, I was literally, so handlebars are normally like this. I had to ride it like this for it to go straight.
Ooh,
that's how badly he damaged it. Like I said, I'm not expecting it to be, I expect it's going to be a write-off. Because generally speaking, that tends to be done. Yeah. So that's at the gaming arena. Obviously, it's going to be too late for you for there, but check them out. It'll be towards the end of next month at this stage. It'll either be it'll be within the last 2 weeks of the month. Gen Con is insanely close at this point. 1st of August till... Yep. 1st till the 4th of August.
I was going to say, wow, it goes for 3 months? Holy cow.
Yeah, but he read it in the non-US universal... He wrote it in the universal date system. Not like
universal date system? You're the only country that does it that way. You write your dates backwards.
We're also the only country to get to the moon, so...
Only with everybody else's help.
Russia did not help us.
Okay, fine. With everybody's help that wasn't Russia. And China. Gen Con is from the 1st till the 4th of August. And then PAX Australia is from the 11th of October until my birthday on the 13th of October. Thank you very much to Valhalla Hobby for supporting us and being awesome people. Check out valhallahobby.com. They have all of your usual things that you would expect. They've got your Warhammers, they've got your Age of Sigmars, etc., etc. But they have a real passion for the niche side of our community as well. All of your War Cradle stuff is available from there. You can also get Black Site Studios, you can get Infinity, you can get Burrows and Badges, you can get Bushido. I said War Cradle.
Okay, just making sure.
TT Combat. All you can get all of that sort of stuff from there. Check out their website; it's phenomenal. Their prices are extremely competitive. I would highly recommend them. If you use Tabled at checkout, you will get 5% off your first order over $100. Thank you very much for supporting us, and thank you for supporting the people that support us. You can find us on Patreon. If you enjoy what we do, please consider supporting us. It helps keep the lights on, helps us not have to put funds into it. Some of us have families, some of us have smaller incomes. We certainly appreciate being able to survive on our own money. Patreon.com/gettingtabled. You can find our website at gettingtabled.com. The most recent episode of the podcast, the links to everything that we've discussed will always be shared on the website. On social media, you can find us at facebook.com/gettingtabled. That's our most active platform. But you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at gettingtabled. YouTube.com/gettingtabled is where all our video content is hosted. Please subscribe, help get our numbers up. You can see the video version of this podcast on the Thursday after it goes live. It is an exclusive to the Patreon for those first 3 days. If you've got something you'd like to talk about, something you disagree with, question that you want us to answer, product that you want us to cover, you can reach out to us, gettingtabled@gmail.com. If you're a Twitch person, I am streaming casually on Twitch, twitch.tv/JasonTheBruce.
Not recently, though.
Well, no, because I haven't been online. And if you're also into action figures, you can check me out at youtube.com/toyreel. Or otherwise, you can check out Clinton's photography at toyreel on Instagram. Thank you, Socks. Thank you, George.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yep, thanks, Bruce.
I'm going to push this button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.
Stay safe on the roads and look out for motorbikes.